Hello and welcome to Mastering Microsoft Excel video series. This is video number 18. We are going to learn about pivot table and this is part 1. Now in this video we are going to understand what is pivot table, why do you need to learn it, why this is very important in Excel to learn it. If you are a person who is handling a voluminous data and if you are working very closely with the decision makers of the business, then this is going to be very critical knowledge for you. So without much ado, let's get into the Excel to understand this tool better. So this is the file we're going to use for this particular video. This file contains details about the sales, details about the deliveries, details about the units we have supplied and all those things. And I've given you, let's see how many years of data we have here. We got almost 5 years of data right from 2019 to 2023. So 5 years of data is given to us right now. So what pivot table can do? Okay, so remember, pivot table tool is a summarization tool, or it is also termed as data crunching tool or data analytical tool. So it's consolidating tool. It has a different words for it because the purpose of this tool is quite huge, I would say, if you use it in the right way. Now let me help you out if you're a newcomer to this tool. In simple words, it will help you to summarize a huge data like this one, which we got 5 years of sales data. We can summarize this 5 years of data into a summary table, a small table, to understand what was the revenue we made in this 5 years, how much we did customer wise, how much we did salesperson wise, how much we did product wise, how much we did year on year, month on month. All these kind of analysis can be done, the best part, without touching a single key on the keyboard. Just by drag and drop, the magic will happen in front of you. So this is an amazing tool. If you master this, then you can be a game changer when you're handling voluminous data in day-to-day exercises. Okay, so let's see what are the things I should take care before creating a pivot table. Now you cannot just like that take a data and bring it to the pivot table and start analyzing it. No, absolutely no. Now there are things which you got to check on your data so that the journey becomes so easy without any problem. The first and foremost thing which you got to check, every column should have a heading, which is very critical. If you do not have a heading for a particular column, it won't let you to create the pivot table for your data. Second, make sure there is no blank columns or blank rows in between your data. If you have such, then those are the end points up to which the pivot table is going to consider. Anything which you have after the blank column or after the blank row is never considered in your summarization. Then the third critical part which you have to take care, which directly affects the accuracy of the summarized values, is making sure the numerical columns contains only numbers. Okay, so in our case, the columns which contains the numbers which is going to be involved in summarization is the bill amount and the unit supplied. So those are the two columns I'm going to use for my analysis. So I have to make sure that this column contains only numbers, nothing else apart from numbers, not like something like hyphen, nil, na, those kind of values. We should definitely avoid, replace them to zeros. Definitely no for errors inside your data, like Excel errors like #n/a. Suppose if this data is a result of a lookup, then you need to make sure there's no errors inside them. Okay, all right, so then the rest of things what I'm going to tell you is something which you have to take care, but it's not mandatory, but it is better you take care of it. No merged headers. So if you have a merged header, it's better you unmerge it and give individual heading for each column. And likewise, no merged cells inside your data. No merged cells inside your data. If you got something like that, please make sure you unmerge and have them as a individual cells. If you take care of all these, then what I'm going to show you in this pivot table right from part 1 to part 5, everything will work without any problem. All right, so this is a perfect data which is cleaned up and kept ready for you. So let's go ahead and start exploring or summarizing this data to understand what has happened in 5 years. So where is this pivot table tool? The tool is available in the Insert tab, and it is under the tables group, and here we have our superstar, which is pivot table. So when you click this downward arrow, you get a couple of options from table or range, from external data source. These are to connect with another data which you want to take it from. But right now we want to create the pivot table from this data which we are currently in the sheet. So we're going to directly click on this icon which says pivot table. Before you go ahead and click on the pivot table, something which I want you to correct for certain users here, which I observed in my training sessions when I do the training. Whenever I ask the user to go ahead and create the pivot table for the data, what I observe the person does is clicking over here, the intersection point of the rows and columns, which is going to select your entire sheet, which is completely not advisable to give such a huge amount of cells to the pivot to summarize. So make sure you're inside the data, and if you have followed the checklist points which I gave you in the beginning, then that is more than sufficient. Just be inside the data. The pivot table tool will take care of selecting your data. So let's go ahead and click on this tool. Now you could see that automatically picked up my entire data. I did not select it by using Control Shift down, left, all those, nothing. It happened automatically because I followed that checklist dedicatedly. Now it is asking, this dialog box is showing you what's the data selected for the summarization, and it's asking where do you want to create this pivot table, the summarized table. Where do you want to see it? Either on the new sheet or existing sheet. It's always preferred to have in the new sheet for a very simple reason. We do not want to disturb the data. So we want to keep the data safe, and let's have the summary in another place. So let's go ahead and leave the option new worksheet. And this one, add this data to data model, is something which you have to think about using Power Pivot, and when you're handling a voluminous data which Excel cannot handle it. Okay, in the coming up videos, we are going to talk about this. So let's catch up during that time, but let's get back to the track where we are. So here we need to create the summary table for this data and the new worksheet. I'm going to click OK, and there we got our pivot table. So this white surface area is the pivot table, the summary table, which is going to get created. And whenever I click inside this area, right hand side, I can see a dialog box which contains all the headers of my data. Okay, and in pivot table world, we don't call them as header, we call them as fields, and that's why you see the word pivot table fields. And this dialog box, one which you see on the right hand side, it is called field list. Watch this. When I click this X mark to deactivate it, if I wanted to get it back again, when you right click on the pivot table area, look at the choice show field list. So it's very important to understand what this area is called. Okay, why did I say that? Because without this dialog box, you cannot work on the pivot table. So it's very important to understand when this dialog box will appear, the field list box will appear, when it will not appear. If it doesn't appear, how do you make it appear? So let me show you when it will appear, when it will not appear. So if I click inside the pivot table area, it will appear. When I click outside the pivot table area, it won't appear. If you want it back, click inside the pivot table area, it will come back for you. If somebody has voluntarily closed it, because this might be hiding the pivot visualizations or something, people would close it to have a better visualize area. In case if you're inside and now it's not still showing it, you can always bring it by right clicking on this pivot table area and go to the choice show field list. So when I click on it, it's going to come up, and we got this right now. You could see there are 4 sections here, and all we're going to do right now is just drag and drop these fields into these 4 sections based on the requirement of the business, okay, or based on the requirement of the person who would love to study the data. What are these 4 sections? Let's try to understand it. Okay, by doing it, we will understand it. So what I'm going to do here, I am going to drag the sales territory, click from the list, drag and drop it in the rows section. The moment I drag it, what happened in my pivot table area, for each territory, one row got created. For every unique territory name, a row got created because I've dropped it in the row section. Suppose if I've dragged it and dropped it in the column section, for every territory, a column will get created for me. So let's say I would leave here the sales territory and try to bring this product category and put it in the row. So watch it. For every single product category, I've got a row created. For every single territory, I've got a column created. So let's say I want to analyze how many units we have sold on for every product on every territory. That's what I want to summarize and see it. So I want to take this unit supplied. Understand, unit supplied is a numerical value. So it has to go to the place where the summarization can be done. You can see this summation symbol over here. So you can drop the numerical fields over this value section. So this value section is 100% meant for holding the columns with numbers. So the moment I dropped it, the magic happened on the screen. Watch it. It is telling me overall total is almost 27 lakh 28,096 units we have sold in this 5 years. And in this 5 years, how many units we have sold for three-wheeler in territory 1, in territory 2. Likewise, I'm seeing it for every product level. What was the total units we have sold in every territory? And not only that, I'm seeing what's the total units we have sold for three-wheeler category and what's the total units we have sold for territory also. We just dragged and dropped 3 fields and it is showing us in 5 years which territory has performed well, which product is moving well, what's their total. All those happens just like that without writing any single formula. So if I closely observe here, I want to know which region has performed well. So what I can do, I can right click on any of this grand total value and I can go to sort and I can say largest to smallest. Now it tells me that two-wheeler category is what we have done so well in this 5 years. Okay, and right at the bottom I can go ahead and check it out here. So let's see, do we have a sort over here? Yes, let's try this. So if I sorted, which shows me territory 1 has outperformed the rest of the people. Yeah, so we could see territory 1 has done really well in territory wise and two-wheeler has done really well in terms of product level. So just on clicks, my friends, I hope you guys are having the same excitement what I'm seeing, because I did not sit and write formulas like sum ifs or average ifs to get this kind of. All I did is just dragged and dropped it and did some kind of sortings and that's it. Now when I start presenting this, let's say, can I analyze this for every salesperson? Well, I want to see the performance of each salesperson, in which territory is doing really well and in which product is doing well. So can I do that analysis? Yes, of course. Watch this. I'm going to drag the salesperson. I'm going to drop it in the filter section now. So the reason to have this filter section here is if you want to filter this entire pivot table by a particular field, then you got to drag and drop that in the filter section. Right now, the reason why we did it, because we want to study this entire table for each salesperson wise. So right now we are seeing it for all the sales guys together. So let's go ahead and pick up salesperson number 1 and click OK. Now what we are looking at is the salesperson 1's performance, and that guy, the best what he has given for us is an LCV, and the best where he has done is territory 1. So let's go ahead and check it out for the next salesperson, salesperson number 2. Salesperson number 2 is really doing well in sales territory 3, and his best performance is on the product OTR. So can you guys see it? How faster I'm able to come up to that decision from such a humongous data in no matter of time. That is the power of this tool we are talking about. Okay, so I've shown you what the role of each of these boxes we are talking about, what happens when I drag and drop, okay, a particular field in this section. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to do a different analysis. So I just want to try something different. So just like in game, like reset, okay. So do I have something like this here? Absolutely yes. Watch it. When you click inside the pivot table, look at the top, there are two tabs extra, analyze and design. So if I go to the analyze tab, there is a group called actions. In the actions, I have an option called clear, and I want to click on clear all. Now this brings it back to my starting point where it all started. So I don't see the dialog box on the right side. So what I got to do when I want to see it, just click inside the pivot table area. We got it. Now we saw that we are able to sort the numbers in the pivot table. We just need to right click on the numbers and go for the sort, and it happens. And you can do a column sorting and a row sorting. Both are possible, which I have shown you in this last exercise. Now we're going to try something different here. So let's see. I want you guys to see something on the visual side. So watch closely. I'm going to take the sales territory to the rows section and the units applied to the values, and I want to create a chart for this. So let's go to the insert tab, and I'm trying to use the recommended charts. All right, so that I want to pick up this one. This looks good for me. So all right, so I'm going to keep this. So this is a chart which I created from a pivot table. So whenever I create a chart from the pivot table, that chart is called pivot chart. Okay, when you create it from a normal data, it's a normal chart. When you create it from a pivot table, it's pivot chart. All right, so what's something interesting here is I want to sort this data so that I always see the best performing territory. So right click, sort, largest to smallest. So the chart is presented in such a way it shows me the territory which has performed well. So this legend, I don't want it because we are analyzing only by the units applied. So this is something which doesn't make sense. And remember that this won't show you the actual header as a series name like what you usually see in the charts, but it doesn't show you that. So what you got to do is just need to remove this, and I'm going to say territory wise units supplied. All right, nothing big deal. So let's get the data labels also. All right, so we got it. So we don't need this grid line, so we're going to take off the grid lines, and we don't need this access values. We can get rid of them, so the chart becomes a little neat and presentable. So let's do something interesting here. So can I analyze this by product wise? Okay, so what I'm going to do, I want to filter this pivot table by product level so that I can see on each product which territory is really doing well. So when I want to filter the entire pivot table by a particular field, I can drag and drop this where? In filters. So why am I doing this with the chart is what's the wonders here? So when I go and pick up a particular product, you can see the value in the pivot table also changes because the visual is also connected to it. That is also changing. That's quite amazing. Watch it. If it's a pivot chart, you can also do the filtering directly on the chart itself like this. So I can click here on the chart where I see the product category, and I can present it like this. Now I can be little smart. I can just place over and above my table, and when I'm talking to the people, I can choose and it shows the values. But we know the secret that there is a table behind this chart. Yeah. So let me again do this part. So I'm going to delete this chart and reset to show you something else also. Let's go here and let's clear this. Okay, clear all. So let's try something now. Well, I would love to see product level, what's the revenue we have made, but I want to see 4 different summarization on the revenue, because any business owner, or I would say most of the business owners, would be interested to know what's my total performance, what's my average performance, what's my best performance, and what's my worst performance. Can you show all the 4 in a single table? The answer is yes, pivot can do that for you. So watch it. All we are looking at is in this 5 years, this is the total revenue we made because sum of bill amount. So, but I want to see the average bill amount also. So I want to drag this bill amount and drop it in the value section one more time. I'm going to drag this bill amount, drop it in the value section one more time. Drag it and drop it one more time. So everything is showing the same total everywhere. But the second column, we don't need the total, we need average. So look at the way we're going to change it. Select any one numerical value, right click, and I go to summarize value by. I want to choose the option average, and that's my average. I go to the next column, select any one value, right click, summarize value by max, and that's my best. Go to the next column, select any one value, right click, summarize value by min, and that's my worst. So in single table, I'm showing you what's my total, what's my average, what's my highest, what's my lowest, which we were expecting. Watch closely. Well, this is perfectly fine, but can I have my own wordings instead of this? The answer is absolutely yes. So you can say something like this. Total revenue, average revenue. The only thing when you type these words, just make sure you don't type the existing field name. Say I'm trying to type the one bill amount again, which is already an existing field name. It won't accept it. Okay, so make sure that you don't type the existing field name. So here I want to say highest revenue, and here I want to say lowest revenue. All right, so we can even short. So I can go ahead and say average revenue, and here I can say total revenue. Okay, can I do formatting on this just like I do for the normal? Absolutely yes. Everything is still the same. You can go and change that to a currencies of your choice, and it is going to be presented. Okay, that is all good, but why here I'm not seeing the actual header? Because I dragged and dropped the product category, but in here, instead of saying that word product category, it's not showing that. Instead, it's showing something called row label. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear this off, and let's try something interesting. So let's click inside. I'm going to go ahead and do this. Product category, sales territory. Both are in the row section. And I'm going to bring the unit supplied right now. Okay. And what's the challenge here I'm going to face right now? Okay. So I am seeing three-wheeler category. This is the total. And for this total, this is what the contribution we got from each territory. Both the product category and the territory both are kept in the A column, but it will be quite convenient for me to keep the product category in the A column, territory in the B column, and the unit supply total in the C column. So how do I shift these guys? I want to work on this little comfortably. Reason why people would expect such a layout is when they want to filter. So watch it. When I click here, when I want to filter right now, I can filter only by product category, but not by territory. If at all, if I want to filter by territory, then I have to go to the top of this dialog box, click here and choose sales territory. Then I have to filter. Now, instead of doing all these longer method of doing, can I have a separate column? It makes my life easier then. So let's see how do we work on these kind of layout changes and all the stuff. So whenever you want to work on the layout changes, the place where you got to go is click inside the pivot table, go to the top. There are two tabs are there, analyze and design. Earlier we went on analyze, now we are moving to design. So the design tab is purely meant for working on the look and feel of your pivot table. You can also work on the visibility of certain things. So we'll see what are those we are talking about. The first thing I'm working out on the report layout. Here I have a big button called report layout. So the default one which you're looking at is the compact form. So when I click on show in compact form, there's no change. So now you can understand the default layout is always compact. But watch it. I go to the second one, show in outline form. Now The category is kept in A column, territory is in B column, and the total is in C column. And moreover, did you guys notice that you got the right headers on top of them, which we didn't get last time? We saw something like row labels, but this time you got the right one. What are the other ones we got? So I can go to show in tabular form. All right, this is good, but what's the difference between the other one, this one? See here, when I go to outline form, the three-wheeler total, the subtotal, is being shown on the top. But when I go to tabular, it's shown at the bottom. So some of the people would love to have this kind of a view. Some of the people would love to have this kind of view. It's all up to the user's convenience, how he is comfortable with that view. He can go for it. But watch it. If you want to move this subtotal to the bottom, if you don't like it on the top, you can work on the placements of the totals also. So there is an option called subtotal. You can say, can you show it at the bottom for me? Look at it. It will show you at the bottom. Can you show it at the top? Yes, I can do that. Hey, can you turn it off? I don't want to see that at all. Absolutely possible. All right, so it's up to the user to decide where he wants to see it, how he wants to see it, whether he wants to see it or not. It's all up to the user. So now I'm going to go for the layout, which my preference most of the time is tabular. This is looking good. Let's say I'm going to turn off my subtotal. I'm not seeing the total at all right now. Sometimes people would love to create a data out of a summary. They want to consider this as a data. This becomes a source for another formula. They might use it, or they want to use this data for some other purpose. So if they have such a requirement, the problem which these guys face is these blanks. So these blanks, ideally these blanks should be filled with the word three-wheeler. These blanks should be filled with the word form. These should be filled with ICV. To help you on that kind of requirement, they have given you this option under the report layout, repeat all item labels. Now the moment I do it, it's already done. Now you might think, okay, it's good, but still this minus signs, these outlines, I don't like it because it is outwardly showing that it's not a normal data. It's like a pivot or something else. So can I get rid of this? Absolutely yes, you can. Go for the Analyze tab and watch this button under the Show group. So it says you can show or hide it. When I click on it, you don't see that anymore. Can I also take this drop downs out of the view? Is it like a filter? No. So can I turn it off here? Is it possible? So let's go to pivot table options to see, can I do anything more? Can I get rid of these drop downs, which shows me like as if we can do a filtering. So whenever you want to do something more on the pivot table, you can go to pivot table options by two ways. One, just click inside the pivot table, right click and go to pivot table options, or click inside the pivot table, go to Analyze tab, and here is the options. So let's click, and I'm trying to check out, is there a provision for us to turn off that? So nothing over here. Totals and filters. Do I have anything here? No. Do I have anything here? Yes. Watch it. Display field captions and filter drop downs. So let's deselect it and click OK. What happened now? You got rid of the drop downs, but you also lost your actual header. Can I bring it? Watch it. Not letting me to type. So that is something we have to live with. So what we need to be doing is, if that's your requirement, we should have something like this. Watch it. I know it's not advisable trick. So all I'm trying to do is just copy those words and paste it on the top, and probably you can hide this and make it to look like as if it's a normal data. I know it's not advisable, but that's how you need to manage it, because it doesn't let us to type the totals over there, yeah, which I've shown you right now. Remember, Whenever you got to do something on the pivot table, look and feel, you need to go to Design tab. Whenever you want to do something more than what pivot table can give you, you want to do some customizations, then you can go to pivot table options to do it. Okay, so there's a lot of options, especially display is something which you guys have to work on. There are a few options like what we did right now, and data is one place where we will be coming in this exercise in part 4 or part 3, and layout and format is a place which you will be thinking about when how do you want to present the empty, the errors on your pivot table. All those you can do those kind of settings over here. Okay, in this video we got just one more last exercise to finish this video on the basics. So let's go ahead and clear this and do the last and final exercise for you guys. So watch closely. I'm going to drag the product category to the row, sales territory to the column, unit supply to the values. Now these grand totals, okay, there are two grand totals you got. One this one and one this one. So these two grand totals. Okay, so this grand total is called row level totals, and these totals are called column level totals. Okay, so if you go to the Design tab of the pivot table, there is option to work on the visibility of these totals. See, I'll give you a small example. Suppose if you guys are talking to the product managers or the product team, then this total which shows the territory wise performance is completely distracting and misleading. So you don't want to show that. Okay, so if you don't want to show that total, you can go to grand totals here and you can say, can you show me only for the rows? So the column wise total will be turned off. So there's no distractions at all. Likewise, I can have it only for the columns, not for the rows. It's up to you to work and to decide how you want to present. So can you show me only the values, not the totals? Absolutely yes. Okay, so I want to get it for both back again now. So that's something which you have to be aware of. Remember, Design tab is purely meant for working on the layout, placement, visibility of the pivot table components. Pivot table options is to customize how you would love to present your values inside the summary table. If it's a 0, if it's a error, how do you want to present it? Do you want to show that what do you call the drop downs of the filter symbols, yes or no? All those you can design it. Okay, over there. Now that has taken us to the end of this video. Downloadable link for this file will be available in the description section, so please download and practice this introductory part on the pivot table so that you will feel comfortable when you watch the part 2 to part 5 videos, because there we would be getting into advanced level areas of the pivot table. Okay, until then, take care of yourself. Signing off, Hariharan.